Welcome back, and thank you for joining A Shark's Perspective. I am Kenneth Shark Kinney, your host and Chief Shark Officer. You've heard me often talk about Invoca and their outstanding technology and team. And that technology is also helping drive better customer experiences, and that's why this episode is even more exciting. One of my favorite conferences and summits is the Invoca Summit. Great tech, great experience, and Santa Barbara and those palm trees don't hurt. I love diving there as well, even when it's virtually. And that's why I'm even more excited to bring you this episode, Digital Experience is Your Brand Superpower, a conversation with Brian Solis. Brian and I will discuss how digital experience will affect the future of customer experience and how you can turn those takeaways into action items for your business. Brian Solis is the Global Innovation Evangelist at Salesforce, a world-renowned keynote speaker, often referred to as one of the greatest digital analysts of our time. He's an award-winning author of 8 best-selling books, including Lifescale, How to Live a More Creative, Productive, and Happy Life. And on this episode, we'll discuss the love language of digital, the novel economy, shared data and trust, creating new experiences, becoming a customer-unified company, digital Darwinism, reclaiming your life from digital distractions with some life scale, Jobs and Jobs movie, who is the GOAT, and a lot more. So let's tune into a global innovation evangelist with a globally innovative shark on this episode of A Shark's Perspective. Well, Brian, thank you so much for joining us today on A Shark's Perspective. I'm very excited to welcome you to this special edition of A Shark's Perspective for the Invoca Summit. So let's dive in. How do you see digital experience affecting the future of customer experience, and how should businesses look at leveraging what they have as a superpower, if you will?
Well, Kenneth, thank you for the opportunity to talk with you today. Digital experience. There's been talk going back 20 years. When we say digital experiences, it's just all experience. And for the longest time, I used to say, no, actually, it's not. Digital is its own love language. It is absolutely different in how someone on the other side of the screen expects to go through that journey. And I've spent my entire research career speaking, writing, trying to help people step out of their decision-making comfort zone so that they can see the world through the lens of a digital-first customer or a digital customer, so that they can feel the empathy that's needed in order to innovate in customer experience design. And with that said, let's go back real quick to this idea of what's happening to you as you use the screen. As a human being, these devices, your favorite social networks, your favorite games, they've all been programmed to sort of compete for your attention. And the way they do that, it's called persuasive design. They all change you in their own respective way to get more of that attention. And so the more you change, your brain moves faster, your chemistry changes in order to feel certain things as you're scrolling and sharing. And essentially, now we're looking at 2007 was when the iPhone launched. So we're looking at a pretty long time of that programming happening at a very human level. So when you go to a touch point as a consumer, say on your mobile phone or on your laptop or your desktop, you're bringing into that touch point all of that anxiety, all of that fast-paced multitasking mode, all of that, I call it digital narcissism. It's all of that expectation that you're going to get what you want when you need, to be convenient for you, to be personalized for you. So that's a very human-centered approach to thinking about how digital has changed the consumer, so that when you come into that touch point, you bring that irrationality, but also that expected outcome into that touch point to say, well, how is this going to come across? And then you realize, wow, our whole customer journey falls apart. Our website has too much stuff. The way that we present images has too much stuff. The way that we force someone to check out has too many clicks, too many instances. So then we allow ourselves to realize where we can make improvements. And then also, if we want to keep getting some extra credit, we could look at the best-in-class experiences in any single industry that has reinvented every touch point and the journey overall to be inspired by what we're also missing. So that hopefully accelerates what's broken, or at least the ability to identify what's broken, and also the ability to see what's missing. And that, I think, is what creates a roadmap for iteration and innovation moving forward for any business to reimagine that customer experience. Because once you understand that digital is its own thing and consumers are bringing to that their own set of expectations, you realize, well, then it could be all about customer experience, because now the improvements we're making on this front allow us to make improvements in other fronts: better service, better sales processes, better everything, that become more modern and human-centered.
As someone who enjoys reading your books and hearing your thoughts on the future of business, I enjoyed a recent post of yours, and I'll read it. Organizations are disrupted when their customer expectations and behaviors change. Entire industries are disrupted when customer expectations and behaviors change at once around the same time. Elaborate on those thoughts a little bit, if you will, please, and how businesses should look forward in this post-pandemic world that you've called the novel economy, as you know, in relation to the novel virus, or the novel economy in relation to the novel virus.
Oh, thanks for the kind words, Kenneth.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those are very important words. Essentially, what sets the stage for what's now a more accelerated version of what I've always called as digital Darwinism. And digital Darwinism is essentially the phenomenon as technology advances, right, but also as society's relationship with technology advances. And the one thing that we can definitely use in that regard is the understanding that in March 2020, everybody became digitally accelerated. So it wasn't just businesses that had to work from home, e-commerce, all of these things, chatbots, automation, RPA. We too, as human beings, were digitally transformed. We had to now figure out how to use digital in our work, digital in remote learning, digital for shopping, digital for entertainment. Everything became a from home digital first experience. And we changed as a result of that. A lot of the phenomenon around what we talked about with digital acceleration in terms of multitasking, anxiety, all these things also accelerated too. So the humanity of this change. So what that means is essentially this is that all at once, as you shared, all at once moment where everything is being disrupted. And if we think that just merely reacting and now we're okay with operating in this new world was enough, no, it just showed that we can do it quickly. But to your previous question, I just published some research with Harvard Business Review that shows how to become a customer unified company, because only 15% of companies in the entire world claim, and we'll see if this is true or not, but claim that they have re-operationalized their organization to put data at the center of the company, which means customers at the center of the company, and have the ability to interpret insights and act on those insights cross-functionally. So let's just assume that that's true and people are telling the truth. That means that most companies in the entire world have to get there in order to be truly customer centric. And the slower they move in terms of not just digitally transforming, but also operationally transforming, the slower that they move, the more that they set the stage for digital Darwinism to outpace them. And this is the next disruption, that when consumers change all at once, not only are entire industries disrupted, essentially on the bright side of that story are the insights that help us through data understand how to accelerate that transformation and have meaning every step of the way.
One of the things that when I speak at conferences and I preach about all the time, it's one of my favorite absolute things to tell other marketers and performance marketers is if you look at how consumers are trying new brands, is how this also shifted. I think of a recent McKinsey study that pointed out that 75% of the customers or consumers tried a new brand during the pandemic, and roughly 4 out of 5 of those are planning to stick with it. How do you recommend businesses think through adapting to that volatility, if you will, as to how to best stay ahead of it?
Yes, it's important to appreciate this. That McKinsey data introduced a couple of things. One was trying new brands, and then also exhibiting new shopping behaviors, and that could be discovery, that could be purchasing. And so the one question to ask is why? What is driving them to do this? And it turns out, I've gone through this exercise with many customers, and it could be everything from availability. But ultimately, what it comes down to is experience. You add to that our own research that shows 84% of business customers, so B2B, and then consumers, B2C, say that the experience you provide in their journey is as important as your products and services. So this comes back to the original question, which is how does that consumer see that journey? differently than how you present that journey to them. And look, I think many businesses I'll just be honest, take for granted the fact that if they just introduce digital, whether that's e-commerce or what have you, or a website or a mobile app, that they're checking the boxes for digital. When in fact, when a consumer goes through that experience, digital is invisible to them. It's just a mechanism for them to get to their outcome. It's how they feel throughout that process that is going to define their customer experience. This is why when I help anybody talk about CX, I add an apostrophe S to it. It's the customer's experience, and let's look at it through their lens.
So I've got a question here from Deanna McPherson, who's the Chief Marketing Officer at Invoca. She asks this question: what role should marketers play in shaping the experience of their prospects and customers?
Yeah.
A great question, isn't it?
Yeah. A great question. So it really, the answer is this, I just had a conversation with Seth Godin, and I think we could all say we're fans of his work. He's been really blazing a trail for a long time. And he said that every great marketer does one thing, and that is they make change happen. And he said that if you're not willing to be in charge of experience as a marketer, then you're not the CMO. And then he followed it with, and I can't say it any simpler than that. And those were powerful words. And what he's essentially saying is that marketing has the opportunity to take the lead on customer experience design, in that it is the ultimate form of marketing. How a customer feels in one touch point and in the sum of all touch points is what they walk away with feeling. And what they walk away with feeling converts into memories. And what it is that they remember becomes their brand. What it is that they express online or to their friends becomes your brand. So it all connects the dots. In fact, in our own research, we found that 63% of the most elite marketing organizations in the world do own customer experience within their companies. And I just published a report on this in Forbes this past week that talks about how to create a new marketing, not traditional or classical marketing, a marketing organization centered on customer experience to be the hub to empower all of the other functions to deliver the types of experiences that are going to create the brand experience that you want customers to have and share.
So I've got another great question from Greg Johnson, who's the CEO of Invoca. He asked, where should companies that want to transform their customer experience start?
Wow, these are great questions.
Yeah, they are not throwing softballs at Invoca. So,
do you know one of the most common questions I get, and it can be anything, whether it's the future of customer service, future of marketing, future of experience design, future of innovation. The number one question I get across the board is, where do I start? And it's a great question, and I hope that people are really willing to hear the answer, because where we get into trouble is where we try to start is with our assumption that in seeking the answer that we're going to go execute on it, when in fact we are part of the problem. We are not our customer. We are part of a process. We are part of a system of decision making. We are part of a hierarchy of metrics. We are part of an organization that has to report out progress to other stakeholders. And ultimately, we get caught up in this world of which is business operations, and I get it, right? But you're never going to innovate if we're not looking at, for example, Kent, when you brought up McKinsey's data, if we don't look at why people are leaving, right? Essentially, what that data says is loyalty is up for grabs. Retention is critical because people are experimenting, and at that level, that's pretty disruptive. And also, people are finding solutions. So, what is it that they're finding, and how do we learn from that? The answer to the question is you start with your customer, and you recognize that we are not them. So we have to use data to bring them to life in ways that help us understand what it's like to go through our journey, what they feel through our journey. And it's also good to talk to them. It's also important to recognize that however it is that we define the customer, they're not the same as they were in March 2020. They're a completely different customer now. I call it Generation Novel, like novel coronavirus, like the novel economy. Generation Novel, or Gen N, was essentially the effects of having to live this digital first life in every aspect. So how they make decisions are different, what they value. For example, values now matter more than ever. In fact, if your brand doesn't align with their values, which they become more conscious to what's important to them now in this time of disruption. 61% have left a brand to try another brand, which is part of, there's so many reasons for that McKinsey data. That's one of them. And that means that we have to get in touch with who they are and who they're becoming, because it's something that isn't just different. It's cross-generational, it's aspirational, and it's self-interested, to be quite honest. I call them digital narcissists because they just have learned to expect to get what they want and how they want it. So that's where I started. And look, I'll just close that answer with a throwback to Steve Jobs. When he was brought back into Apple, there's a lot of skepticism because the company was pretty much near a flat line. And he was asking, what are you going to do differently to bring Apple back to life? And he said, he took a pause. It's a really beautiful moment. And he said, you know what? We have to start with the customer experience and work backwards to the technology. Essentially saying that we have to give technology a purpose. We have to give these times a purpose. We have to give our decisions a purpose. And to assume that all of our processes, our standards, our metrics for success, our previous experiences, to assume that that's what's going to take to thrive in the novel economy. This new world without a playbook essentially would get us into trouble. And I think this is time to open our minds and our hearts to use digital and to create better experiences, whether they're physical or digital or hybrid, to make customers come to us so that retention grows and acquisition grows too.
Amen to that. Yeah, I think it's so often that businesses look at themselves in the mirror and they forget that on the other side of that, the people are evolving just like they're trying to evolve as well. So let's talk a little bit about one of your books. I've read several of them, but Lifescale, How to Live a More Creative, Productive, and Happy Life. I love a description that I read about the book. Somewhere along the way, we got distracted as much as we multitask, love our devices, and feel like we're in control. Deep down, we know that something is off. Short attention spans, which works for me, declines in critical thinking, lack of sleep, self-doubt, and decreased creativity are just some of the effects coming to light in an age of digital distraction. It's time to reclaim our lives. It's time to take control. And I thought about this because you wrote this and released it before COVID hit. And then we were all sitting at home looking at our phones, trying to figure everything out again. Talk a little bit about the book and that journey and how you look at Lifescale today through that prism and lens of a self-discovery and growth. And it would also be interesting to touch on how we can avoid these distractions coming out of a pandemic so that we don't just bounce back to old habits.
Oh man, gosh, we could have a whole conversation about this. When I wrote it, I found the hard way that I was struggling through digital distractions. And earlier when we talked about persuasive design and how that plays out in getting customers to change to the app's benefit, like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, what those studies didn't continue to do was, well, how does that change you as a human being? Like what do you feel the same? Do you feel depressed? Do you feel completely lost? So that's the research I had to do because I couldn't figure out why I was feeling all of these things. I had to back into, it turns out that after 15 years of reprogramming, that's what happens. And so the way back is the Lifescale journey was a research-based process of, not just abandoning digital, it's actually using digital, reestablishing your relationship with all things digital to move forward in a more purposeful direction. With that said, I had, in the context of business, there's two things. One is what wasn't clear then. That was before Netflix's Social Dilemma. What wasn't clear then was that people didn't necessarily realize that they had a problem. Everything's just fine. And so just saying that at the time wasn't necessarily making the case. Imagine writing a book about not smoking when smoking was first introduced and you have doctors telling you it's okay to smoke. It was a little early, to be honest, when the book came out. But now, to your point, in a post-pandemic world where everybody's working and learning from home, and digital first. It turns out that now people are starting to talk about, and you'll see it everywhere, digital wellness, self-care, our depression, happiness. So all of these things are now starting to come to life, like customer behaviors. All of these things were accelerated in the last 18 months. So Lifescale actually has roared back to life, no pun intended, in an entirely new way, where we're now having these conversations about digital wellness. How do I take control of my work-life experiences and intentionally move in a direction where I feel like I'm gaining progress in a variety of ways. And so, thank you for bringing it up. It's been really wonderful to see now how it's changed. And and I forgot, Kenneth, let me just add one more part. In the business context of this, what the book really does is show you how the consumer comes into any touch point now as well. So it isn't just about your life. It's also now through the lens of, gosh, I had no idea. Like the first couple chapters of the book just reveal like how crazy a consumer's life is as they're going through their journey, so that you can be a sense of relief. Your touch points can be designed to be a reprieve, to know that they're asking these questions and to answer them, so that they just feel like, wow, this is a great experience.
Yeah, great point. Hold on while I take a call, send a text, watch a TikTok video, and send an email. So you've obviously got a massive Rolodex of influential people in your life, but I remember reading Engage a few years ago as well. Hollywood star Ashton Kutcher wrote the foreword for the book. How did that relationship manifest?
Oh, we were actually business partners for a long time. We did a lot of work with helping to transform the digital transformation of like Oprah Winfrey, the United Nations, Pepsi at the time. A lot of really cool things. And so I had a company that was one part digital lab, experimenting with all the startups out there to figure out how to help businesses take advantage of these new technologies and relationships. And the other side of the organization was to help actually transform those using those technologies when they couldn't do it themselves. We would sort of be this rapid acceleration team. So it was a relationship I miss, and I helped him make some of his first startup investments too. So that actually wish I followed the same investments I had him made, because that's been wildly successful for him.
Well, Brian, my nickname is Shark, and that's why the show is called The Shark's Perspective. I dive and frequently swim with sharks, and that's everyone who comes on the show. And you're in SoCal, so this is a good question. What is your favorite kind of shark and why?
I'm just going to have to do this in real time here. I'm going to have to say the Mako.
Okay.
And that is because
the fast shark.
My daughter's school here that they just started, brand new school for them 2 weeks ago. That is their mascot, the Makos.
Nice.
So there you go.
Fantastic. And it's the fastest shark. Let you pivot in this digital world. So Brian's special time in the show, as we close out, we get to know you a little bit better. Are you ready for the 5 most interesting and important questions that you're going to be asked today?
Well, I'm ready to take the questions. We'll see how I do with
we'll see how you do.
them.
Seth Godin called these his favorite questions. So, all right, number 1, we've been talking a little bit about superpowers with digital experience. So if you had a choice, which would you choose, the power to fly or the power of invisibility?
Fly. I often dream about flying. It's very cool.
So we've been talking also about performance and performance marketing. So the greatest of all time in performance in the NBA, Michael Jordan or LeBron James?
Oh, I'm such Michael Jordan has such just style and grace.
Thank you. All right, number 3, what will have a larger impact on business trajectory in the digital world over the near to midterm, the impact of search or the impact of social? And I use business trajectory because if I'd said growth, that would almost be too easy.
I'm going to say search, and the reason why is because we're watching the effects of social influence in a lot of things in our life right now, and it's not always the best results that we see. But search is an intentional process of discovery, and it allows for any brand to think, especially going back to empathy as a superpower, how to be the mentally and emotionally available brand for a consumer in that discovery process. Or
Great
customer.
point. Great point. Number 4, we spoke about Ashton Kutcher. So let's discuss Ashton Kutcher movies. Jobs, the story of Steve Jobs, or Dude, Where's My Car? About two idiots who couldn't find their car the morning after a night of partying.
I'm such a big Steve Jobs fan that movie was horrible. So, Dude, Where's My Car?
Very good explanation. All right. Number 5, and the most important question that you're going to be asked today is biscuits or cornbread?
Can the answer be yes? Because that sounds, I just had jalapeno cornbread that was through the roof, but then I just had biscuits and gravy the other day that was through the roof too. So I'm going to pass. I can't, I'm going to take them both. If they're on the menu, by the way, and people who know me know this, if both of those things are on the menu, I will order both of them.
Good point. Good point. So Brian, where can people find out more about you, keep up with what you're doing, your thought leadership, and more?
Well, for the most part, I'm briansolis.com is a good hub, at Brian Solis on all the socials. And you'll see that a lot of my role at Salesforce as Global Innovation Evangelist is a lot of alignment with work with Salesforce.com out there. So you'll see it all through those hubs. And I really want to say thank you for allowing me to share the some of my work. And if you want to connect, you can always at me out there, and I will reply.
Absolutely. Brian, thank you so much for being with us today on this episode of A Shark's Perspective with the great team at Invoca and the Invoca Summit.
What a pleasure, Invoca. Thank you. And thank you. It's my first engagement with a real life shark so I appreciate it.
So there was my conversation with Brian Solis, the Global Innovation Evangelist at Salesforce, a world-renowned keynote speaker, often referred to as one of the greatest digital analysts of our time, an award-winning author of 8 best-selling books, including Lifescale. Let's take a look at 3 key takeaways from our conversation with him. First, I will simply quote Brian from one of his writings and say, organizations are disrupted when their customer expectations and behaviors change. Entire industries are disrupted when customer expectations and behaviors change at once around the same time. That's so true. Businesses have to be looking forward today as technologies advance, as customer relations with those technology advance, and as expectations of those same customers skyrocket forward. A lot of companies say that they leverage data, but not enough do. And being able to do that to accelerate to your customers' needs is critical at this point. Second, Brian and I discussed studies on changing consumer behavior. It's an incredibly important issue for brands to realize, especially because customers are trying out new brands. 3 out of 4 consumers, as the studies show. And a great majority of those intend to stay with those new brand choices. So this gives us an amazing opportunity as marketers to be able to capture a lot of audience out there, acquire new customers, but it creates a lot of volatility and a real need for companies to dramatically improve their customer experience. So his advice and mine is to start and focus on your customer. Third, big shout out to the team at Invoca, and so honored again to be a part of the Invoca Summit. Hit me up if you want the 411 on the power of their technology. Thank you, Invoca. Got a question? Send me an email to kenneth@asharksperspective.com. Thank you again for the privilege of your time. I'm so thankful to everyone who listens. Thank you to the amazing sponsors, Invoca and Drips. All things considered, I'd rather be in Santa Barbara right now, but wherever you are, physically or virtually, just keep swimming and join us on the next episode of A Shark's Perspective.